This is our town, Orangeville, Ontario. Population 28,520, give or take. Like your town, it has schools, houses, banks, stores, parks, arenas, churches, and a hospital. All the essentials for survival. Yet our town has been blessed with some of the extras that make day-to-day living a lot nicer and a lot more practical. Things you might expect to find in much larger communities. When our dump closed, it got turned into a busy multi-purpose park. When our special needs citizens needed a place for programs and our theater needed room to rehearse, one roof went up to cover them both. When our library needed more space, it grew. When the kids outgrew the drop-in center, the old police station became their new home. And when they needed a skateboard park, it happened. When doctors were in short supply, a clinic was built beside the hospital so new doctors could set up their practices and stay. It would be logical to think, gee, there must have been some strong town councils over the years to put all these things in place. Well, let's talk to some past and current mayors to find out how all this came about.
Council is asked to do a myriad of things. I mean, the items that people request and would like, you just can't imagine doing them. The tax rate would go so high that people would leave the town.
For the municipal council, it's a huge risk. Most government is very risk adverse, very much by the rules.
We can partner with, we can encourage, we can say this is a great idea, let's do it. But you have to have that underneath that base of mentors and workers and philanthropists and doers in the community.
So if town council isn't responsible for all these things, then who is?
If you wanted something done, you ask Doc Gillies.
With a guy like Doc, you want to get something done, ask a busy person.
I mean, once he gets behind something, it's gonna happen.
If he makes his mind up to get something done, it gets done.
That was our job, was to get it done.
Doc Gillies was born in 1933 in another small town, Galt. His real name is John, and his dad is the real Doc, a veterinarian. Doc first rolled up his sleeves with the Orangeville Rotary Club in 1961. Before long, he started working with other Rotarians to convert the ugly town dump into an attractive, functional park.
I can remember when I was a young fellow going down to the old dump. Trucks come in and dump the stuff, and they used to burn it. And my goodness, you'd be coming up the highway and the smoke would be going or flying across on a windy day or something. You could hardly see where you're going,
The baseball clubs and the soccer clubs all went out and raised money. We also went to all the surrounding clubs like Kellyton and all the areas, and we found that people from those areas were using it. So we went to the councils. They donated. We had it broken down into what it was worth per player. They didn't have to build it. We had it here.
Doc made that happen overnight by mobilizing community support, making it into a positive project, getting the Rotary Club involved, and getting people to donate and believe in it. He made that project happen in a fraction of the time it would normally have taken municipal government to make it happen.
When Rotary Park was nearing completion, before the parking lot could be paved, the government changed direction and culture became the new funding priority. Not missing a single beat, Doc channeled his energies into the Carnegie Library, which needed renovation.
We got a grant to do the library. At that time, what was the old Royal Bank building and the library.
We're renovating, yes. The first major renovation since the two buildings were joined.
This was a Royal Bank, and the town owned it for 3 years. It sat empty because they anticipated doing what we ended up doing. So we used the culture grants to build this. And we had no idea what it was going to cost.
When the police moved out of a large facility in the center of town and the building was going up for sale, Doc was one of several who saw this as the perfect location for the local youth drop-in center. He used his influence to raise money and support to find the kids a new home.
It cured a lot of problems. The police started meeting with the kids, playing pool and so on, so that the kids were no longer afraid of the police.
For high school kids, they can walk from either high school here in a matter of minutes, and they like to come.
Summer, autumn, winter, and spring.
Orangeville is a bright spot on the creative map of Canada, partly due to the success of Theatre Orangeville, which is proud to share its unique rehearsal facility with Community Living Dufferin, a resource for people with developmental challenges.
Cast your spell upon these toads over here. Now you can start. To be or not to be.
When we dedicated our new rehearsal hall, Doc was hugely instrumental in our lives in the creation of the Dream Factory. It looks like it's been there forever. It looks like it kind of sprung up out of the ground. And it came in on time and it came in under budget.
His next challenge was to remedy a situation faced by many small communities in Ontario, a shortage of qualified doctors.
We had a wonderful core of family physicians who were starting to think about wanting to retire, and there just seemed to be nobody to come to take their place.
It was an economic necessity for letting the manufacturer draw new people to town.
We thought, what kind of doctor do we want? Well, then let's build a place that the kind of doctor we want will want to work in.
It had been demonstrated in other communities when they built buildings like that it would bring doctors in.
Doc went out and went to local contractors and said, guess what? You get to have the contract to do this for this building, and by the way, you're going to discount it by 15 or 20%. So, and Doc being Doc, he could just do it. He did, and we probably got at least $100,000 worth of goods and services here for this building donated.
My husband and I are both family physicians. We moved here 7.5 years ago, and when we came here and saw this clinic, that was a huge draw for us.
When we got done building it, we had 10 doctors in it. It's got a cupola on top, you'll notice too.
Every now and again, Doc would say, Mary would have to have a coffee. And off we would go, and I would think, oh no, what does he want to do now?
I learned very quickly that when Doc calls you for a coffee, he has some good project or idea in mind.
And it would be, what do you think about? And should we do the following? I mean, he's already decided it's going to happen.
We felt it was something that the town didn't have. And we laugh about it now because there was all kinds of opposition. Nobody wanted a skateboard park near them.
There was an impression that skateboarders were bad people and causing a lot of damage in town, when that wasn't the case.
They thought that youth were vandalism and all those kinds of things.
The skateboarders before they had the park were skateboarding down Broadway, they were skateboarding in mall parking lots, they were skateboarding down streets.
Doc used all his resources, all his connections to pull in favors and get people to really believe that the community needed it. We needed to do it for our youth.
The police thought it was a great idea. For them, it became one-stop shopping. There was going to be a problem with youth, they knew where they were.
Enthusiasm for the project started to grow, and today we have a fabulous skateboard park, and it's really well used for the kids, and it has been for the last 10 or 15 years.
What made Doc such a successful community builder in Orangeville? Let's take a quick look at 10 components of his methodology. Doc came to his projects as someone who is well known in the community.
Doc had done many other projects over the years, and so there's a real belief that he could just make things happen.
He also volunteered out of love for his community, not for personal gain.
He just feels that that's what you should do in a community. You give back all the time.
He took his projects seriously, not himself.
I think people like to work with him because he is fun to work with.
The projects he decided on were long overdue, and there was almost always unanimous agreement that the community needed them.
Every job that Doc took on would be close to pretty well everyone's heart. Obviously, some resonate more than others.
Doc never presented an idea that he hadn't thoroughly researched in advance.
Doc didn't waste a lot of time in dead ends. He had it pretty well thought out.
The kind of person he was motivated and inspired those around him.
I like to kid around with my 4-year-old son sometimes, can you touch my finger and give me some energy? And sometimes Doc's that way too.
He knew how to make his case and never gave up till he won it.
You never say no to Doc, because he will be there and he'll remind you and make sure that you are involved and that you think that his plan is a great plan.
Doc led by example and invested himself personally in every project.
He puts in the time, he makes the donation, he is part of it.
He never took on a project that he didn't finish and finish well.
There were never roadblocks that Doc couldn't jump over. No matter being vertically challenged, he was always able to clear those roadblocks and hurdles.
Starting with a nucleus of qualified people within Rotary, Doc knew exactly who he needed, and he found them in other service clubs and in the community at large.
He's a connector. He is able to bring people together.
He would be identifying younger people to come into community work.
And it's an important skill because there is never one person who can do it all.
Whether it's in one of the service clubs or wherever leadership would be needed.
Doc invested lots of time handpicking and mentoring others to be leaders.
Basically, I don't teach them anything. I work with them and they watch. They see what we do and why we're doing it. The protégés that we have are all very capable before they start. In other words, we pick our protégés. They're already on the ball. They're in every meeting I'm in. They're already right there. Council recognizes them. Council even has called them without me, which is fine. That's what I was looking for.
Where are the next generation of community builders? Where are the next generation of those guys?
He's taught a lot of us just how to get things done. He's touched a lot of people that will be able to carry forward and kind of know how to do things. And I mean, methods change, councils change, rules and regulations change, but at the end of the day, I think if people really want to get something done, they can, and he's shown us how to do that.
Many of Doc's graduates, the ones who helped him build big profile items made of steel and concrete, have now gone on to apply the same 10 principles in virtually every area of community service and leadership.
The people he's worked with, they're in there up to their neck doing these things because they've seen that, as a volunteer, you can accomplish a great deal.
If he could do it, we could do it. We're different and it'll look different, but the message and the legacy that people like Doc leave are that you can make a difference in your community and you can leave it a better place than you started. And you know what? You should.
I think that's Doc's greatest contribution to the community, is his example.
We definitely have to replace people like Doc. We need people like him.
You need somebody that will bring people together, that people will rally around and say, come on, we can do this. Because otherwise, we're in a world where less and less seems to get done.
Every town has people with the creativity, the energy, the commitment, and the vision to make a difference. Who will make that lasting change in your town? Maybe it's you. And as we like to say here in Orangeville, every town needs a Doc.